Welcome back to the first day on 93 WIBC. We wish you a happy Labor Day weekend. I know for a lot of Hoosiers, they are doing hard labor as they continue to clean up in Howard and Montgomery County. Ironically, September is National Preparedness Month, and joining us now is Richard Michaelis. He's the owner and president of the Michaelis Corporation. I know you hear him with Pat Sullivan on Saturday's Home and Garden Show because Michaelis is taking really good care of the Sullivan house that Pat nearly burned down with a toaster. And Richard, we welcome you. How are you?
Thank you, Terry. I'm doing well. We're all a little tired because we've been working awfully hard with all the storm activity, but we're all fine.
Yeah, this is what you guys do: restoration, home improvement, and storms, floods, fires. And Mother Nature has not been very good to us lately with all of that. So what are the calls that you're getting right now? What's keeping you so busy?
A lot of it's water right now. The tornado got us busy. I think it was 2 Thursdays ago, but it seems like the rains have been tremendous during the month of August. So we've had a lot of wind and or rain damaged properties coming through.
And when you say wind or rain damaged properties, when we talk about rain damage, is that flooding? That's a flooding in your basements, or what is that?
Sometimes it's flooding through just a sheer volume of water. Other times it could be like a tree knocking down power lines, which can kill all the power in the house. So now your sump pumps aren't working, and just the regular drainage around the house is now flooding the basement. Or it could be trees on the roof, crushing the roof and opening them up to the weather. So it's just a hodgepodge, just a lot of different types of destruction caused by the storms.
Yeah, we had power out for 3 days. No damage or anything. We just had power out. And
home?
Yeah, for 3 days. And so that, as you just said, that sump pump went off. And so now we're in the recovery process like a lot of others. And can even an inch of water cause structural damage?
I don't know if an inch of water would cause structural damage unless it's there for a long time. But if it's sudden and accidental and maybe cleaned up right away, you might have cosmetic damage, maybe to your paint and your drywall and your base and trim, and of course maybe contamination depending on what kind of water is to your floor coverings. But I don't know if it would damage the structural portion, the framing, the massive framing behind the drywall.
I had a table, and its legs sat in that water for a couple of days. Can anything get mold? Can anything get mold, I guess? Yeah.
Well, mold wants a food source. So there's a few things mold needs before it gets happy. And one is going to be moisture for the most part. It likes darkness, and it likes a food source. And a food source could be gypboard. It could be paper. It could be cellulose. It could be paint, things like that. For the most part, framing and concrete, they're not going to be a tremendous food source for the mold. But if it's there long enough and the conditions are right, you're probably going to get some type of biological growth.
Okay, and the best way to clean that up after you've had water, even if it's an inch in your basement or even your crawl space too. I know a lot of you I've got water under there underneath the house. So where do we start? What do we do to actually clean that up?
Well, I think the first thing you want to do is try to remove the source. Try to figure out what's happened to allow the water to get in there. If that's something's changed, it could be a hole in the roof, or it could be just poor drainage around the base of the home. So correct that so it doesn't come in again. Then the next process would be the dry down. Dry it down. If you don't have moisture, then you're probably not going to have to worry about the mold. So dry it down, and then depending on what type of water comes in, and when I say that, we classify it as category 1, 2, 3, or we might call it clear water, gray water, black water. All those tell us different things, and black would be the worst. That would be sewage. That could be raw sewage. It could be fecal matter. It could be storm water, but we treat it differently. So if it's clear water, just kind of tap water coming in like a frozen pipe, then that's not going to be as aggressive or worrisome. But regardless of what type of water you have, you're going to want to use a disinfectant. And that disinfectant is usually going to be a wet application, and you're going to either try to disinfect and clean a solid surface, a hard surface like concrete or maybe your table you're talking about. Yeah. But when it comes to soft goods like your carpeting, clothing, draperies, generally we're going to suggest that not be salvageable, especially if it's sewage and or gray water, which is gray water is anything that's just not sanitized water. So it could be washing machine water. It could be backup of a storm drain. I wouldn't call it sewage, but it's still gray water. You don't know what's in it. Yeah. It's certainly not clean water.
Richard Michaelis is with us, owner and president of the Michaelis Corporation. Michael is how you spell it. Michael.
Correct.
Is
Correct.
Corporation.
Yeah.
And here's something that it is, by the way. September is National Preparedness Month, but somebody told me that I can take, because there's still a little bit of a smell. There's still a little bit of a wet, damp kind of smell. That I could take a bag of charcoal and put that down in that area, and it will absorb that odor. Is that true?
It will certainly help. Charcoal helps. Kitty litter helps.
Oh.
Things like sawdust, anything that's absorbent, even things like white cider or what's another product I'm trying to think of? Anything that can absorb it. But generally, an odor is from what we call incomplete drying, meaning something's still wet. The carpet pad's still wet, the carpet's still wet, the framing. If you've got complete drying, you shouldn't have any odor. So if your nose is smelling something, it's generally because there's, like you just said, it's still damp, something's still wet.
Yeah, still smells wet, still smells a little damp. How do we so what are the best kind of tips on how to prepare for the next one? Because this one, we hadn't had any kind of trouble before until the power went out and caused that sump pump. It was just that little thing to go down. And so how do we prepare next for next time? Because there will be a next time.
There will be, Terry. And, short of a generator, a backup generator to give you electricity, if you do lose power, I would say the next step might be, if you've got a sump pump, maybe a backup system to that sump pump. So they're usually battery driven. They won't last very long. You might get 10, 12 hours out of them. So if your power's down for 2 or 3 days, you're probably that battery's going to run dead, and you're going to have to somehow recharge it or get another battery in there. But a generator for electricity, a battery backup sump pump system, and then after that, the other precautions might be correct something that's allowing that water to come in. If it's window wells that fill up with water and flood the basement, surface water coming in somehow through maybe walkout basement doors, try to attack that area so that you're prepared for that next storm. If it's a tornado, I don't know if you're going to be able to take on Mother Nature.
Yeah.
I was up in Kokomo last Thursday and again yesterday, and there's just not a whole lot you can do when you have a tornado like that ripping through your neighborhood.
How's that cleanup going, Richard?
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. They've got a lot of the tree debris up, but the houses are just so badly torn up that I'm guessing maybe as much as 50% of the ones in the Tornado Alley area will probably have to come down to the ground or to the slab. They're just racked so badly.
It's sad. It's very, very sad. And it can happen like that. It can just happen out of nowhere. It's for crying out loud. It's August, and we never think about it happening in an August.
Absolutely.
It's times are changing.
That's April weather. Yeah, it's usually springtime.
All right. Well, Richard Michaelis, they're good people, good company, and I've got a fundraiser coming up, and your guys, your heart is with the burn camp that you want to support, and you need our help too. The Hoosier Burn Camp, and this open house kind of ties in with this. So let's talk about the date first of all. September
the 16th at our office here from noon till 6 is the open house. We're at 2601 East 56th Street. We're up in the Broad Ripple, kind of the Glendale area.
Okay.
And there'll be lots of activity. There'll be food. There'll be music. There'll be, I think somebody said there's even going to be like celebrity sightings, so that's exciting to think about. And the burn camp can use some gifts and items, and some of the things that they've requested is possibly gift cards or gas cards or sleeping bags or printer ink for their printers.
Oh.
They put on water cannons, so I think for the children they have this big festival, and there's a lot of water involved with it. So plastic sleds for winter events. They've got postage stamp roll and sheet Kings Island tickets.
Wow.
And a 6-person dome tent. So that's some of the items that they've suggested maybe we could try to request some of our guests bring.
Yeah, absolutely. The Hoosier Burn Camp. Why is this one so special to you, Richard?
Well, I think it just ties in a lot with our business, our industry. We see a lot of fire-damaged properties, and it's always just horrible when somebody's hurt. And often somebody does get hurt in these house fires. So most of these children, and they're not all children, some are adults, have suffered some type of a burn. And it may not have been a house fire. It could have been an accident with, maybe a fire pit in the backyard. They've been scarred, and it just makes us feel so good when we're around those young people and seeing a smile on their face and seeing them kind of recovering through that process.
Hoosier Burn Camp, they have a wish list, as Richard mentioned, and some of those items you can find at Michaelis' website. This, again, will be their open house and collection site for the Hoosier Burn Camp, 2601 East 56th Street. Come out to their offices noon to 6 on September 16th.
Thank you so much, Terri.
We've got to run. Thanks for joining us this morning. Have a safe and happy Labor Day. Fox News Sunday is next at 1 o'clock. Hammer and Nigel on 93 WIBC.